so I'm sure you've probably heard of this game if you've ever even looked at the internet a single time, and given its popularity I was quite surprised to find out that it was free. So I did the thing that everyone else decided to do, albeit a little bit late, and play it. Dating sims in general are not my thing at all, and visual novels are again something I've not dabbled with too much in the past. And admittedly I already sort of knew what was going to happen in it. Again, if you've ever looked at the internet, you probably know too. But saying that, it didn't make that much of a difference to the experience. Whilst I knew something was going to happen and had a slight bit of anticipation, it still came across very well as the cutesy love game it appeared to be. However, the psychological horror tag and the multiple warnings that this game is not for young children or those that are easily disturbed kind of give away that something is maybe going to happen. And if you have that in mind, you notice that the game starts to drop little hints about the underlying tone it's about to spring on you like a rabid fox. It's hard to say a lot without spoiling it for those few of you who haven't actually seen any hint of it yet. If you have played it, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But there are small clues during the poem writing sections that foreshadow a little bit. For example, in that particular part of the game, you have to choose words that you think associate the best with the character you want to get closest to. But some of them don't actually associate with the character you'd expect them to, which I think is a nice element to add for anyone astute enough to put the two clues together, or anyone who knows what happens like I did and managed to put it together from there. The music and timing really work well together in the game, even before the shift in mood. Afterwards, well, let's put it this way, it gave me that feeling that horror games sometimes do, where I'm just waiting for the next horror thing to happen, and in that time I have the consistent feeling that all my internal organs are slowly failing. And that's a good thing in a way, because it means I'm internally unnerved, and that's what's meant to happen in horror games. The scares aren't too cheap either, and it's more just to unnerve you than actually scare you. Psychological horror isn't direct horror after all. It leaves your own mind to fill in the gaps, but there is a little bit of gore in there, so as long as you can handle that and you aren't a child or easily disturbed, you'll be fine with it. In general, the game played well. The art was good, characters matching the backgrounds, and the background music was suitable to the mood the game was giving off at that time. The two worked together so well, in fact, that the game even nearly made me jump when a character interrupted a rather intense exchange I was having with another character, without warning. In the game it was meant to be a shocking interruption, and it actually worked really well. And the music is used to great effect in the darker areas of the story too, giving a great push to that really creepy vibe. My biggest criticism about the game would be that on occasion it gets confusing. Not in the parts where it gets system files involved, no, it explains that really well and drops plenty of hints. But there is one particular part where text seems to endlessly scroll in a loop with no change to the background to indicate that anything is happening. And given the amount of glitching the game starts to do, it gets pretty tricky to figure out what's part of the game and what might be a real error. Because my game crashed, and I didn't even know if that was part of the game. I didn't have a clue, but it turns out it actually did crash. So. And the only way to get past this bit without clicking for hours is to fast forward it. Now, if you don't figure that out, there's no way that you can know how to do that, and I was close to giving up at that point because I wasn't sure if the game was actually broken or not. Things like that, and sections where the game appears to restart, can be a little confusing, and at another part I actually nearly quit the game because I thought that was the end when it actually wasn't. My other qualm with it is some of the characters' mannerisms. It does play very close to some anime tropes, like Natsuki appearing as a tsundere and Sayori being the one that's constantly happy and a bit of an airhead. I chose to try and befriend Yuri in the game, but that meant that I had extended dialogue with her and actually realised that the way she spoke became really tedious. She was supposed to be the shy one, and I get that's hard to do with just writing, but her constant stuttering started to get on my nerves after a while. I know that's probably a personal thing, but reviews are opinions after all, and opinions are personal. I can't speak for the other two characters because I just went solely for Yuri, but her speech in particular and the fact I had to click through a lot of ellipses began to irritate me a little bit. All in all though, I would have to agree with the general consensus of the game and say that it is pretty good. Whilst it's not my usual genre of game in appearance, and I wasn't entirely sold on the whole having to try and date a girl thing, the twists in structure and tone of the game did entertain me. Bringing your PC's files into play as a mechanic of the game is actually an interesting and quite good move, and the whole game together was the experience that I'd come to expect from the hype that I heard about it. I think overall it took me roughly 3 hours, but for a free-to-play game with that level of content and well-applied atmosphere, it's still worth the time. I think it was well made, other than that time it crashed on me, and executed brilliantly, and all in all was both an enjoyable and not enjoyable experience at the same time. Because of that, I'm going to give Doki Doki Literature Club a score of 8.5 out of 10, despite the fact its name sucks and makes me want to die every time I say it. Hey, isn't that ironic?